I awoke in my own bed. The Count must have carried me here. To be sure, there were certain small evidences, such as that my clothes were folded and laid by in a manner which was not my habit. My watch was still unwound. I am sure the Count would have seen my diary, and it would have puzzled him. He would have taken or destroyed it. May 18th. I have been down to look at that room again in daylight, for I must know the truth. When I got to the doorway at the top of the stairs, I found it closed. It had been so forcibly driven against the jamb that part of the woodwork was splintered. I must act immediately. May 19th. I am surely in the toils. Last night the Count asked me in the suavest tones to write 3 letters. The first letter that my work here was nearly done and that I should start for home within a few days. Second letter that I was starting on the next morning from the time of the letter, and the third letter that I had left the castle and arrived at Bistritz. I am powerless here. I know I cannot fight a supernatural entity like the Count. He knows that I know too much, and that I must not live, lest I be dangerous to him. I saw in his eyes something of that gathering wrath which was manifest when he hurled that fair woman from him. I therefore pretended to fall in with his views, and asked him what dates I should put on the letters. He calculated a minute, and then said,
"The first should be June 12th, the second June 19th, and the third June 29th.
I know now the span of my life. God help me. May 28th. There is a chance of escape, or at any rate of being able to send word home. A band of Sisgeni have come to the castle, and are encamped in the courtyard. These Sisgeni are gypsies. I have notes of them in my book. I shall write some letters home, and shall try to get them to have them posted. I have already spoken to them through my window to begin acquaintanceship. I couldn't understand their language. I have written the letters. Mina's is in shorthand, and I simply asked Mr. Hawkins to communicate with her. I have given the letters. I threw them through the bars of my window with a gold piece, and made what signs I could to have them posted. The Count has come. He sat down beside me, and said in his smoothest voice as he opened 2 letters,
The Sisgeni has given me these. One is from you, and to my friend Peter Hawkins, the other."
Here he caught sight of the strange symbols as he opened the envelope. He became angry. "It is not signed." He burnt that letter. My letter to Mina. When he went out of the room, I could hear the key turn softly. A minute later, I went over and tried it, and the door was locked. When, an hour or 2 after, the Count came quietly into the room, his coming awakened me, for I had gone to sleep on the sofa. He was very courteous and very cheery in his manner, and seeing that I had been sleeping, he said,
"So, my friend, you are tired? Get to bed."
May 31st. This morning when I woke, I should keep some paper and envelopes from my bag in my pocket, so that I might write in case I should get an opportunity. To my shock, every scrap of paper was gone, and with it all my notes, my memoranda, relating to railways and travel, my letter of credit, all gone. The suit in which I had traveled was gone, and also my overcoat and rug. I could find no trace of them anywhere. This looked like some new scheme of villainy. June 17th. This morning, I heard the sound of gypsies. With joy, I hurried to the window and cried to them. The gypsies looked up at me stupidly and pointed, and they laughed at me. The lighter wagons contained great, square boxes with handles of thick rope. June 24th, before morning. Last night the Count left me early and locked himself into his own room. The Sisgeni are quartered somewhere in the castle and are doing work of some kind. I had been at the window somewhat less than half an hour when I saw something coming out of the Count's window. I drew back and watched carefully and saw the whole man emerge. It was a new shock to me to find that he had on the suit of clothes which I had worn while traveling here. I realized that I am a veritable prisoner and that the Count has begun impersonating me. I thought I would watch for the Count's return, and for a long time sat doggedly at the window. Then I began to notice that there were some quaint little specks floating in the rays of the moonlight. They were like the tiniest grains of dust, and they whirled round and gathered in clusters in a nebulous sort of way. I was becoming hypnotized. The phantom shapes, which were becoming gradually materialized from the moonbeams, were those of the 3 ghostly women to whom I was doomed. I fled, and felt somewhat safer in my own room. As I sat, I heard a sound in the courtyard without, the agonized cry of a woman. I rushed to the window, and throwing it up, peered out between the bars.
Monster, give me my child.
She threw herself on her knees and, raising up her hands, cried the same words in tones which wrung my heart. Then, from somewhere, I heard the voice of the Count calling in his harsh, metallic whisper. I could hear the howling of wolves. There was no cry from the woman. The wolves streamed away singly, licking their lips. I could not pity her, for I knew now what had become of her child, and she was better dead. What shall I do? What can I do? How can I escape from this dreadful thing of night and gloom and fear? 25th June, morning. The sun grew so high this morning that it struck the top of the great gateway opposite my window. Strange, I have not yet seen the Count in the daylight. Can it be that he sleeps when others are awake? If I could only get into his room. But there is no possible way. The door is always locked, no way for me. Yes, there is a way, if one dares to take it. If he can manage to go into that opening, I can also go. I am willing to risk it. What can happen at its worst? God help me in my task. Goodbye, Mina, if I fail. Goodbye, my faithful friend and second father. Goodbye, all, and last of all, Mina. Same day later, I have made the effort, and God, helping me, have come safely back to this room. I knew pretty well the direction and distance of the Count's window. I did not feel dizzy. I looked around for the Count, but, with surprise and gladness, made a discovery. The room was empty. It was covered with dust. I looked for the key, but it was not in the lock. The only thing I found was a great heap of gold in one corner. Gold of all kinds, Roman and British and Austrian and Hungarian and Greek and Turkish money. At one corner of the room was a heavy door. I tried it, for, since I could not find the key, I must make further examination, or all my efforts would be in vain. It was open, and led through a stone passage to a circular stairway, which went steeply down. I could smell the freshly dug up earth. As I went through the passage, the smell grew closer and heavier. At last I pulled open a heavy door which stood ajar, and found myself in an old, ruined chapel, which had evidently been used as a graveyard. I made a discovery. There, in one of the great boxes, of which there were 50 in all, on a pile of newly dug earth, lay the Count. He was either dead or asleep. There was no sign of movement, no pulse, no breath, no beating of the heart. I bent over him and tried to find any sign of life, but in vain. I wanted to search the keys, but when I saw the dead eyes, I was so scared that I fled from the place. June 29th. Today is the date of my last letter, and the Count has taken steps to prove that it was genuine, for again I saw him leave the castle by the same window and in my clothes. As he went down the wall, lizard fashion, I wished I had a gun or some lethal weapon that I might destroy him. I came back to the library and read there till I fell asleep. I was awakened by the Count, who looked at me as grimly as a man can look as he said,
Tomorrow, my friend, we must part. You return to your beautiful England, I to some work which may have such an end that we may never meet. Your letter home has been dispatched. Tomorrow I shall not be here, but all shall be ready for your journey. When the Slovaks are gone, my carriage shall come for you, and will drop you at Bistritz.
Why may I not go tonight?
Because, dear sir, my coachman and horses are away on a mission.
But I would walk with pleasure. I want to get away at once. He smiled, such a soft, smooth, diabolical smile that I knew there was some trick behind his smoothness. He said,
And your baggage?
I do not care about it. I can send for it some other time. The Count stood up and said, with a sweet courtesy which made me rub my eyes. It seemed so real.
Come with me, my dear young friend. Not an hour shall you wait in my house against your will.
With the lamp, we preceded me down the stairs and along the hall. Suddenly he stopped.
Hark!
Close at hand came the howling of many wolves. He drew back the ponderous bolts, unhooked the heavy chains, and began to draw it open. To my intense astonishment, I saw that it was unlocked. Suspiciously, I looked all round, but could see no key of any kind. As the door began to open, the howling of the wolves grew louder and angrier. Their red jaws, with champing teeth, and their blunt-clawed feet, as they leaped, came in through the opening door. I knew then that to struggle at the moment against the Count was useless. With such allies as these at his command, I could do nothing. "Shut the door. I shall wait till morning." I covered my face with my hands to hide my tears of bitter disappointment. With one sweep of his powerful arm, the Count threw the door shut, and the great bolts clanged and echoed through the hall as they shot back into their places. In silence we returned to the library, and after a minute or two, I went to my own room. The last I saw of Count Dracula was his kissing his hand to me, with a red light of triumph in his eyes, and with a smile that Judas in hell might be proud of. When I was in my room and about to lie down, I thought I heard a whispering at my door. I went to it softly and listened. Unless my ears deceived me, I heard the voice of the Count.
Back, back, to your own place. Your time is not yet come. Wait. Have patience. Tonight is mine. Tomorrow night is yours.
There was a low, sweet ripple of laughter, and in a rage I threw open the door and saw without the three terrible women licking their lips. As I appeared, they all joined in a horrible laugh and ran away. I came back to my room and threw myself on my knees. June 30th, morning. These may be the last words I ever write in this diary. I slept till just before the dawn, and when I woke, threw myself on my knees. At last I felt that subtle change in the air and knew that the morning had come. I felt that I was safe. With a glad heart, I opened my door and ran down to the hall. I had seen that the door was unlocked, and now escape was before me. With hands that trembled with eagerness, I unhooked the chains and drew back the massive bolts. It had been locked after I left the Count. Then a wild desire took me to obtain that key at any risk, and I determined then and there to scale the wall again and gain the Count's room. He might kill me, but death now seemed the happier choice of evils. Without a pause, I rushed up to the east window and scrambled down the wall, as before, into the Count's room. It was empty, but that was as I expected. I could not see a key anywhere, but the heap of gold remained. The great box was in the same place, close against the wall, but the lid was laid on it, not fastened down, but with the nails ready in their places to be hammered home. I knew I must reach the body for the key, so I raised the lid and laid it back against the wall, and then I saw something which filled my very soul with horror. There lay the Count, but looking as if his youth had been half renewed, for the white hair and mustache were changed to dark iron gray. The cheeks were fuller, and the white skin seemed ruby red underneath. The mouth was redder than ever, for on the lips were gouts of fresh blood, which trickled from the corners of the mouth and ran over the chin and neck. Even the deep, burning eyes seemed set amongst swollen flesh, for the lids and pouches underneath were bloated. I searched all over the body, but no sign could I find of the key. Then I stopped and looked at the Count. There was a mocking smile on the bloated face, which seemed to drive me mad. This was the being I was helping to transfer to London, where perhaps, for centuries to come, he might, amongst its teeming millions, satiate his lust for blood and create a new and ever-widening circle of semi-demons to batten on the helpless. The very thought drove me mad. I saw a shovel and took it and tried to hit him, but his eyes fell full upon me. The sight seemed to paralyze me, and the shovel turned in my hand and glanced from the face, merely making a deep gash above the forehead. The shovel fell from my hand across the box. I heard in the distance a gypsy song sung by merry voices coming closer. I tried to open the door, but to my shock, there seemed to come a violent puff of wind, and the door to the winding stair blew to with a shock that set the dust from the lintels flying. When I ran to push it open, I found that it was hopelessly fast. I was again a prisoner, and the net of doom was closing round me more closely. There is a sound of hammering. It is the box being nailed down. Now I can hear the heavy feet tramping again along the hall, with many other idle feet coming behind them. The door is shut, and the chains rattle. There's a grinding of the key in the lock. I can hear the key withdraw. Then another door opens and shuts. I hear the creaking of lock and bolt. I am alone in the castle with those awful women. Me, nah, I am caught here. I shall not remain alone with these evil women. I shall try to scale the castle wall farther than I have yet attempted. I shall take some of the gold with me, lest I want it later. I may find a way from this dreadful place. And then a way for home, a way to the quickest and nearest train, away from this cursed spot, from this cursed land, where the devil and his children still walk with earthly feet. At least God's mercy is better than that of these monsters, and the precipice is steep and high. At its foot a man may sleep as a man. Goodbye all. Mina.